Hello and welcome to Book Launch by Libby. I'm Joe, and I'm so happy you're here. Today, I'm joined by Dessa Carroll, founder of Brown Babies and Books, a Brooklyn-based nonprofit creating culturally rooted literacy experiences for families. What started as one mom's search for representation and belonging has grown into a vibrant, community-centered space where children and their caregivers can truly see themselves reflected in books and storytelling. Dessa, I'm so excited to have you here. Hello, welcome.
Hi, Joe. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast today. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. We had the chance to kind of meet in passing at the Libby Book Awards. And I was so excited when you reached out and shared about Brown Babies and Books. And I cannot wait to hear more about it today. I think to just dive right in, can you explain to our friends online what Brown Babies and Books is and take us back to the beginning?
Yes, of course. So I was thinking about it last night, just reflecting, like I'm getting a chance to really share what we've been doing. And I was so emotional and, everyone is always making fun of me because I'm always crying. But it's been such a year, incredibly impactful. We've moved incredibly fast. So this started as you mentioned, just me as a new mom seeking community and spaces to spend time with my daughter. So I knew as soon as she got her 3 month shots, we could be out, exploring the world in Brooklyn. And I knew that story time was something that I was really looking forward to doing with her as soon as she was ready. So I knew there was local story times in the library, bookstores. And unfortunately, as a new mom, I was also navigating a domestic violence relationship with her father. So it was extremely a really difficult time in my life that I was learning to be a new mom, but also looking for safe spaces to build community and connection. So happened before I had my daughter, I saw Lofty Pigeon Bookstore, being built, and I was so excited because I knew what a community space bookstores represent and what it could become. And I had no idea when they were building the bookstore down the block for me that it would be, the space that it is today. So it really started as going to local story times and really seeing a need for representation in these spaces, not only for myself as a new parent, but because I'm like, is my daughter received here? Does she see herself in these spaces? Does she see people that
Right.
look like her? Are the stories being told something that she can see herself in? So it was bigger than just me needing a space. It was also wanting her to have those spaces for herself.
And I think that's such an important thing for people to hear. I think we're starting to get the understanding of representation in books. We want children and we want to see ourselves in the books that we read. But I think at the same time, you as a mom needed a place where you felt like you fit in too. It wasn't just, is my daughter comfortable? Are we as a unit comfortable?
Yes. And I lived in this neighborhood 16 years. I used to work as a nanny in this neighborhood. So there's always a different feeling going into a space as the nanny versus
Hmm.
going into the space as the mom. And I quickly
Yeah.
realized the contrast of, I'm the parent showing up for her in this space. And what does that mean to me to be in this community as a new parent?
And
So that was
and to get to
definitely,
take up space. I mean, it's
yeah.
it's not just, kind of sitting with your daughter, it's being a part of the story too.
Yeah, and what I've learned, which I always knew, but this has reinforced that story time is for everyone. It's not just for young children, because every time I'm at a story time hearing the author, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this book. Where was this book when I was younger? And it's just, it feels good. You always leave better than how you felt when you stepped into the space, whether it's a library, a bookstore, storytelling, there's no age limit to it.
I love that because I read a lot of YA, I read a lot of middle grade, just to try to keep I read a lot of everything, to be fair. Podcast will do that. A book podcast will do
Yeah.
that to you. But I always find when I see representation now where I just go, "Oh." I needed this when I was little. I'm so glad that someone else has this today. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just it's there.
Yes.
Now, what were the first steps? So you see this bookstore, you see this need. Where did you go from there?
Oh, it's so crazy, and this is why, I get so emotional thinking about it.
Yeah.
I wrote the idea down, literally, Brown Babies and Books in my notes app around New Year's of,
Mhm.
I believe, 2025. Yes, a year ago.
Yeah.
And, was celebrating New Year's with my neighbors right up the block and shared with them, I had been going to mommy and me yoga, story times. And I shared with them, oh, Brown Babies and Books, we're going to be reading X, Y, and Z. It's going to be over on Cordelia Road. And they were like, oh, it's lit. We out. Like, when is it? And I'm like, oh, no, it's not really a thing. It's just an idea that I have. And seeing that they were so excited about it, not knowing that it was just an idea, I'm like, all right, let's do it. Walked around to local bookstores, small businesses, shared the idea, and they were like, yeah, let's go for it. So the support from my local community was, right from the start. And what was going to be a monthly meetup for families started kicking up to like weekly.
Wow.
Yeah. So now we're a nonprofit.
Wow.
So the need was immediate, families showing up, and not just Black and Brown families, but all the families in the neighborhood, which surprised me so much.
Yeah, that is the thing that I think is so beautiful about story time is that community will form itself almost immediately, and you get to see that it is everyone, that it's not like I think part of what I want people to take away from our conversation today is that, like, if you see the need, you start to chip out the spot to fill the need, but it will so naturally, like, it what feels like it starts as, like, a big fight to get what you think is missing could just be putting the idea out there to your neighbors and have them saying, "Oh, well, we're already ready to show up,"
Yeah.
and seeing how quickly that expands outside of just one part of your community and how much that can grow.
Yeah. We've had story times sold out from like the first story to, well, sold out because they're free community events, but
Right.
60 RSVPs, 80 RSVPs for story times. And I'm like, people are spilling out of the door. So, what sometimes starts as a real intimate, maybe six people, there's now 50 people packing out a bookstore, it's
And a waiting list.
yeah, yeah.
Now, what does a typical Brown Babies and Books event look like? What's the flow? Who's hosting? What are some of the books that you've loved from the past year?
So we bring in different BIPOC authors. Most of the time, they're New York City based. We've had the opportunity to expand to different bookstores, different small businesses, community spaces, outdoor spaces. So it'll be a natural story time or a regular story time, but I say a lit story time. So because we
Yeah.
are, representing Black and Brown people, we have music, we have vibes, we try to have, good food, just really keep the energy up to celebrate our stories that are being told and really make it feel like a space that's representative of us and our community, our stories and our culture. So recently we did, to end Black History Month, we had a Freedom Braid story time with author Monique Duncan at Gladys Books and Wine. And we had Woola Drums come. They're an African djembe drum performing group. So we had, the heartbeat of our motherland, to close out Black History Month and to see the children not only be able to see themselves in the story, and you look through the audience of families, tons of people with braided hairstyles, seeing it in the book, and then they're hearing the drums, and a lot of, them that might have been their first experience, getting to be in front of a djembe drum. So really tying themes, into the stories, and into the spaces and giving not just the children, that experience and connection to the culture, but also the caregivers.
Definitely. Definitely. I there's so many amazing things to pull from any of these points, but what does it feel like to get to share with the community? I'm thinking like, yes, you are helping a beautiful community uplift and you're helping experience, like share the experience with brown babies and their books. Like, but you're also, as you said, you're expanding outside, like you're seeing all sorts of faces in the crowd. Like, what does it feel to share cross culture, cross neighborhoods? I mean, you're popping into
Yeah.
different bookstores. Like what does this feel like to you?
It feels like this is how you create community. I can walk
Mm,
in every store on this block and they know me or they know my
yeah.
daughter's name. They look out for us. There's families that I've met in story time that have now, shown up for me through different crises throughout the year, step in to babysit my daughter. And it's nothing of what I would have imagined or thought it would look like. And it truly blows my mind at, putting an idea out there and putting yourself out there, how you can create community. And there's a Haitian restaurant, there's a Mexican restaurant, there's Lofty Pigeon. This is where I came for my daughter's first story time when she was 3 months old, a little blob, and I'm like, "She loved it. It was amazing." She was slept the whole time. She wasn't even awake. But I loved it, and I've loved
Right.
the relationships that I've been able to build and to share our stories, not just during Black History Month or Juneteenth, but all of the
Yes.
time. Like to see a little white girl come to a bedtime bonnet story time and not know what a bonnet was when she walked in. And now, after the story, she knows what a bonnet is. She's going home with her own. So it won't
Yeah.
be one of those moments when she's in school. What are you wearing on your head? She knows because she got to see it in a children's book. And it's as simple as that, gently introducing ideas in different cultures. Last Saturday, I was here for an Eid story time. I learned the most about Eid I've ever known in my 34 years of living through children's books, and getting to talk to the women that were sharing the stories. So I really think it's for everyone, and there's a book for everyone.
Well, and it's empathy. Like at the end of the day, everyone, parents, caregivers, children are leaving with a lesson in empathy. Like you said, the little white girl went home and she understands now the benefits of a bonnet.
Yeah,
And we don't have to like have an awkward learning moment later or, like heaven forbid, like a bad learning moment. Like this is just like oh, I understand this now. And there are so many elements that we need to embrace to start teaching kids young. Like whatever that person's doing is their business, but also we get to enjoy and respect and understand
mhm.
what our friends just next door are going through as well.
Yeah, I think kids often stare because they're
Mhm.
curious, and
Yes,
adults make it a fearful thing. But if we can just invite people into the conversation, I think that's where it starts. And, what better way than with books and building community?
absolutely. I'm a big pink mess. When I'm walking down the road, there are absolutely, there's a kid that'll be like, "Why are you pink?" And I just look at him and I go, "Well, why not? Don't you
Yeah,
wanna have fun when you go out,
yeah,
out and about?" And like that's part of what it's all about. I always my response when anyone says, "Oh, why pink?" You just go, "Life's too short to be boring."
I love that.
Because that's the genuine answer, but it's also if someone was having a bad day and they looked over at just this big pink blob going down the road and went, "Well, that's different," and got a smile, success, and I didn't even have to do anything other than some, like bi-monthly maintenance.
Oh, I love it. I grew up, I was adopted as an infant, raised by two lesbian women. I'm biracial. So there's a lot of spaces that I was trying to see myself in, to
Yeah,
find my identity. And I think when
sure.
my differences were put out there in a way that made me feel isolated and othered, I didn't feel confident in myself in the way I showed up in the world. So I think just giving kids stories and spaces where they can see themselves in helps them be able to navigate their own identities and how they show up in the world.
Right, because at the end of the day, the the goal is to raise happy, healthy, safe children.
Yeah,
Like, the agenda is to keep them going for another day. Like, that's the goal at the end of the day, and exploration and understanding is so crucial to that.
yeah,
The other part of your mission I really love because I think it's so important as, as the queer kid who needed the books that exist now back then. I think the other part of your mission that is so important is that you also are caring for the caregivers. And I think your experiences you shared with us speaks to like that need of even just to the point of like when your daughter was 3 months old and asleep, you needed the story
yeah.
time. You needed to be out of the walls in a space that was safe. What what drives your dedication for caregivers and what are some of the things that like people can expect when they come into as a caregiver?
Yeah. I think mothers specifically are the heartbeat of our communities. I think we hold our communities, and I think there's not enough spaces to really care for the caregivers or hold the mothers. And I think so often when people are initiated into motherhood or being a parent, a new parent, it's always, how's the baby? How's the baby? And there's not enough care for the mothers or really creating that village and support system. So now that my daughter's almost 2 years old, and I'm going to story times and seeing a new batch of mamas. I'm like, "How are you? Yes, your baby is so cute, but, like, how are you, mama? Are you taking care of yourself?" And I ask it, and I don't always practice it, and I think one thing about community is not only creating community, but being able to receive, community back in return and, like, be held, in return as much as I wanna hold other people. So I think, you know, maternal health, mental health.
Yes.
We have a big event coming up next month that highlights the Black maternal health crisis. So not only are we in a literacy crisis, we are in a Black maternal health crisis. So conversations around, safe birthing, but also postpartum care. How do we show up for caregivers and really create that village and keep that conversation going past just childbirth? And I think that was something that was so important to me because I feel like I slipped through the cracks. I had a therapist, I had a support system, I, did appointments, but still, I suffered for 6 months, and I didn't struggle, I suffered,
Right.
and I needed support, so I became a doula in this past year, but I've been so caught up with brown babies and books, but that's specifically why I made sure, maternal wellness and community collective care was one of the pillars of brown babies and books because we can't only care for the babies, we have to also care for the caregivers.
Absolutely. I think it's your point alone of just like, how are you? Not how's the baby? Because right, that's what you're so used to. And then the flip side of what draws a lot of moms and parents and caregivers to story time is, oh, this will be good for my child.
Yeah,
But right, those lacking resources or just the like, "Oh, well, you've got this. You'll figure it out. You'll
yeah.
push through." And we forget to ask the person how they're doing or they feel like, "Am I not still myself?"
And to go a step further, knowing the space is important for my child, but what does it do to somebody that doesn't see themselves in that space? So, a lot of the times, if there's a language barrier, or we're saying, oh, there's a literacy crisis, these kids don't know how to read. A lot of children coming from marginalized communities are coming from homes where there's English isn't their first language. They might feel like, "Oh, I go into a bookstore, there's an expectation to buy a $30 book." If I'm choosing to buying food and buying a $30 book, well, I can't make it to the story time. So creating an accessible community space, not only with an expectation of purchasing, but we have stories here for you, your culture is here, your community is here. We're gonna raffle some free books. And breaking that stigma and barrier that keeps, people that look like me, people that look like you out of spaces because they think, oh, well, that's not for us. I don't feel comfortable there. So really creating spaces where everybody can come into.
That makes so much sense. I mean, right. There are so many different venues, but even when it comes to like all of our work in the libraries, there are still those moments where people go, I don't know how to get into that room or how to take up space in that spot. And all of this comes down to like, you're welcome. You got to get into the community. Um, is there a moment or a story from the past year of Brown Babies and Books that has really stayed with you?
Um, specific moment. It's so hard to think. Um, yeah, I'm gonna speak to there's a family that I've met, you
Uh-huh.
know, with a little adopted boy. And we started seeing each other when our kids were 3 months old. Story time hopping, as I call it, because I don't know, Kensington's hot when it comes to story time. So we've got, you
Got
know,
to go where you can.
we've got the libraries, we've got the different bookstores.
Yep.
And I was seeing this family and seeing so much of myself in them and like wishing that my parents had spaces to navigate to connect with people that were Black, African American. And now these are some of my closest friends. We try to connect weekly. Our kids are friends, and I see so much of the little boy in me, and I see his parents putting themselves into spaces, conversations, getting a little uncomfortable just because they love him that much, and that's how much they're willing to learn. So I see, it's deeply healing for young Dessa, but to see,
Yeah.
diverse families being able to be in this space and connect with people.
I love that this is not just your creation for others, but also healing for yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's really meaningful. I think that that's what has brought you this success is because it is across the board. It is unselfish and it is done from such a genuine place.
Yeah, I really have had this is my daughter Azada. I've really
Hello.
um tunnel vision, and I can't believe that I'm like the book woman now and like the story time woman. Like I always knew it was gonna be something that was important to me and valuable in my parenting journey or when I
Uh,
was a caregiver, a nanny. But now my favorite thing is to like stand like a creep and watch my daughter just flip through books for like an hour. Like it's her favorite thing. And I love that for her and for us.
oh, absolutely. I the way that my niece and nephew interact with books is my biggest joy because I'm always like, okay, what did I bring home today? And there's something magical because we know the power that stories hold and that these community spaces behind books hold. So you're not just seeing the now, you're also seeing the future
Yeah.
because there is like you've instilled this little bit of magic in her, and so she has every possibility now because of that. And I think that's so powerful.
It's truly a gift that keeps on giving. Like one of the most exciting things with my older sister Nikki is to um rediscover books that we loved when we were younger. Like
Yes. Do you have any are there any that come to mind?
oh
I know
my
I'm
gosh,
putting you on the
so
spot,
many.
but
Um, well, if I'm thinking of like my childhood favorites, I loved the book Amazing Grace. I don't know if you know that one. So it, follows her through all of her different roles as she's, going on adventures, and she loves storytelling. And I just remember being able to act out the different characters that she, saw herself in and really just being so imaginative with the stories. And I have, I could go on and on and on all of the books, but I have brought some of our favorite I have hundreds of books, as you
Oh,
can imagine, but I wanted to
yes.
bring, some of the ones that I'm really loving with my daughter. She might have a different opinion. I could have brought more of, like, the board books, but I will tell you why I love some of these, stories. So, unfortunately, this one, the cover is gone.
Mhm.
It's the book Saturday by O.G. Mora.
Yeah.
So the story follows a girl and her mother through their day on Saturday. And I love this book because it starts off with them going to the library for story time. And like she's so excited to spend the day with her mom because every day of the week her mom is busy. So they really
Yeah.
look forward to Saturdays. And just, seeing the adventure through the book, the images and how they make the best of it. It just really reminds me of all of the adventures that I have with my daughter Azada here in Brooklyn. And they're going to the library and then they say story time was canceled. And I cannot tell you how devastating that is because, I revolve our weeks around story times. So,
Right.
it's very relatable. And I really enjoy this one. So that is Saturday. Um, is it okay if I continue?
Oh, please.
Okay. So this one is the one we mentioned, Freedom Braids by Monique Finn. So this talks about the history of braids for people of the African diaspora and how they have used braids not only for style but for maps, to plant rice and like different seeds hidden in the hair, as slaves were escaping to freedom and they got free land. They were able to plant these seeds. So it's just really phenomenal, to follow the journey of the young woman through this. Oh, her name is Nemi. To follow Nemi's journey. And this was another one that I sat through in Lofty Pigeon, choked up in the back. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, where was this book when I was younger?" And just
Right.
the storytelling is so powerful. And then another one that we were really excited about, he just won tons of awards on the NAACP Image Award, the James Scott Adams Award, I believe, Nicholas Smith, The History of We. And this book covers a lot of things that aren't in textbooks. So he really did so much research on our history, from the beginning of time and, beautiful imagery. We were trying to connect with him for a year, and he's based out of LA and just super busy, but we had him here for story time. And I love this one. This is a little advanced for our age group, but we are expanding to YA. And, right now my daughter's very into board books, but we also, I read, we like parallel read, and I'll be reading
Yeah.
this book, and then she'll be doing a board book. Sure. And she, is hearing me. So either way, and
Right.
then
You're still starting.
yeah, and like I said, story time is for everyone. So just because it's a little advanced for her right now, I mama can still enjoy it. Um,
That's the thing. That's the week where the caregivers are really sitting there going, oh, you're getting me today. Got it.
oh, sorry, I've got 2 more children's books to
Oh,
mention. I
yeah.
know you said 3, and then
Oh,
I've got
no.
a book
Go
I'd bring to
wild.
you. So this was our first book, Soka Baby. So this was our
Oh,
first official story time, and because my daughter is half Trini, I love this book. We had the authors come. They had all of the traditional carnival outfits for the kids to wear. And I got to learn, more about soca and Caribbean culture. Soca's music from Trinidad and Tobago. So they talk about the steel pan drums and, the celebration behind all of that. So, I have my very own soca baby, Miss Bada, and I love, just the colorful images and the emphasis on being different, full of pride, the love for life. Soka baby will never hide. So like don't shrink your
Yeah.
culture, don't hide yourself, like, show off and be proud. So I just love the messaging, in the story. And then on our board of directors, we have an author, Tonette, and she has written a book, called We Are One that is about, an organ donor.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't have the physical book, with me, but it's available for purchase on Amazon, and she also
Mhm.
did a virtual story time with us, during Black Children's Book Week, so that's up on my page, and
Yeah.
that book is so thoughtful because it talks about how when you're looking for a donor, it doesn't matter their race, their
Right.
background, you just want your loved one to be able to have a little bit more time, and I had never heard that perspective or really thought of it in that way. So
Right.
again, a children's book just introducing you to a new idea, and really sharing that yes, we're all different and that's okay. But we're so much the same. And we all bleed the same.
Right.
So is another phenomenal book. And then what I have just started reading,
Ooh, yes.
Black Single Mother. So Jamila just launched this book. I went to Liz's book bar last week. She flew in from LA and I love, everything that she's about. She's done tons of editorial work. She
Mhm.
does different columns, but she came out this book, Black Single Mother. And because we do maternal wellness events, we want to start also speaking to the books that the caregiver should be reading. So this is really a vulnerable testimony of her experience and dismantling the shame around being a Black single mother. And she
Right.
goes through different testimonies from, I believe, 21 different Black women that are single mothers. So I just started this and I'm really excited to dive in. And I think one thing that I talk with my board about is we also need to read too. We read a lot of children's books, but we have to model that we're also reading our own books.
Right. It has to continue after story time, but
Yeah.
also there's so much benefit for all of us to be reading. And right, it can be anything, even if you are reading reading like the chapter book that you're going to pick out for your kid next once you hit that age range. Like it's important for all of us. It's that self-care. It's making a little bit of time in your evening
Um,
and there's no deadline. Like, no one says you have to finish a book in a week.
ah,
You're allowed to take however much time it takes.
I did a lot of audiobooks during my pregnancy.
Yep.
That's really when I started reading again. I would say I'm ashamed to say, but I really that's when I discovered a love for reading again. And yeah, it really does feel like self care. And since I've started Brown Babies and Books, people are like, your vocabulary just, wow, you just use big words now. So, hey, it's doing something.
Gotta love it though, right? Um, now, what would you say to someone who wanted to start their own community group, who wanted to start to make space like you did?
So I've seen in the past year a lot of, mom spaces popping up and,
Mhm.
all of these needs. And I think people want it to be so perfect. And you just have to share the idea and start creating community, creating space, and putting yourself out there. And like you said, I think you'll be blown away by the people that show up. And I've noticed in having Spanish speaking authors and the difference of the community that shows up and say, does anybody here's first language Spanish? And all that. And I'm like, whoa, like didn't expect that. So I think if you just create the space that you need, the people will show up. And sometimes we think things have to be so perfect. Like we were head down doing story times, self-funded, not even realizing like, oh, we should really like structure this because
Wow.
people were showing up and we didn't have to make it perfect. We just had to bring the authors in, you know?
Right, you just had to kinda bring the people what they wanted. They will show up and they will show out for you.
Yeah.
It's also kind of that, like, don't be afraid to give it a try, right? Like, if you need that representation, create it. I'm thinking of, like, in the same vein that, we're starting to see more beautiful stories about accessibility, children with different needs being reflected in books as well. So, like, whatever your community may be needing. Yeah.
There's another one, Next Level. The author's name, I believe, is Samara. Amazing book. Talk about her neurodivergent son, and it is so much for the caregivers, but also for the children. I've never seen a book like that. It touched me so much. Got about to tell Lofty Pigeon to get it if they don't have it yet, but
Right. And so it's that combo of like, sure you can create the space, but also recognizing that like we're all welcome. The book community at the end of the day is the community. So find spaces that exist. And if a space is missing, just means it's something for you to create. How do you stay grounded in your mission as the organization grows?
my board of directors. Can I show you Ebony? Oh yeah. I have my vice chair right here, literally right hand woman, Ebony Small.
Hello.
Um, okay, so we started this March 2024, 22. I don't know why I keep getting confused. Anyway, so we just turned a year old last week. And in the fall or around October, I started getting my board of directors together, and it was a
Ah,
humbling moment for me because I'm so stubborn. I'm a Taurus. I like things my way. Like I decide the vibe, and it's very
yeah.
humbling to bring in a team of people that can keep you steered in the right direction. And we were just saying last night at our meeting, the mission is bigger than me, the vision is bigger than me, and our responsibility is to keep that in line. And to be honest, staying grounded, I'm not very grounded. As zen as I sound, I have found a love for this, and it fuels me and keeps me up at night to the point of constant burnout. So I think one of the
Mm.
challenges is finding balance, and not making it my whole personality in life. But there's so many books out there, and there's just so much work to be done. And like we are in a literacy crisis, and I don't want my child to grow up around people that don't know what's going on because the state of the world is already scary enough. So, there's a fear of being a parent, but when you're doing grassroots community work, and you see the book deserts and like, the things happening in marginalized communities, it really keeps me up at night. So staying grounded is a constant thing that I'm working on. Yeah.
Yeah, the benchmark for grounded may shift every so often because right, there's always something new coming at us that we have to figure out a pivot for. But if someone who is listening who already has their own group started, do you have advice or like a meaningful way that they could create more representation in their own space? Is there something you would say to the groups that already exist and something you'd say to those who want to start their own group?
Yes, I would say in-person connection
Mhm.
is, going to get you that much further because people can really see and hear and feel what you're doing when they actually get to talk with you. And I think in the time where things are so much on social media and behind screens, it can be a tool. I've spoken about how my algorithm now on my Brown Babies and Books page is lit, literally lit teacher, lit. And then I go to my
Yeah.
personal page and I'm like, who is this woman? I'm so not her anymore. So you can shoot your social media to find the people that you need to find. But I think in-person connection, and we're in a time where everybody's heads are down, and the people that you want to support you are most likely not going to be your innermost circle. Unfortunately, it's going to be the strangers that are going to show up and see the vision, the mission, and like want to support that. And for some reason,
Yeah.
it's just the way it is. So I think it's being a little fearless to make those new connections. And then if you're not an extroverted person, using your social media like a tool to find those people that are like-minded.
Absolutely. What is something you want to make sure that we like send away from this conversation? What's something you want to make sure that the folks listening at home hear about brown babies in books, about representation within literature spaces, about care for caregivers?
That it's not just, reading stories during a special time of month or holiday, it's all of the time, and, like, representation isn't just to get, like, your DEI check or, your token ticket of, like, "I'm cultured." Like, it's really immersing yourself in these stories, in these spaces, connecting with people, and using books as a bridge for that. So I think it can really expand worlds, your worldview. And I've mentioned during Black Children's Book Week, we call New York City the melting pot, but our neighborhoods are often very siloed. And like, unless you have the courage to really connect with your neighbors, which I think is going to be happening at the longest table, you might walk past people for 10 years and never know anything about their culture, their history. And I think that stories can really be the bridge for that and the need for that, especially in such a diverse place. Like if we can't get it right here in New York and Brooklyn, I don't know what they're doing upstate where I grew up, but like at least we gotta get it right in the city, the melting pot.
Right, right. If we can't do it in New York, it's not happening anywhere
It is not. And
else.
we're the blueprint. We're the blueprint.
Right, and I think that's really important for everyone to hear, like, here and now, take this and modify it for your space. Like, yeah, if you're in the suburbs, it's still needed in the suburbs. Like, it's it's everywhere, and it's like you can take this and you mesh it with what your community needs. I know, like, I think of some of my travels for work, and like we'll go to a library where there's a large Russian speaking population because of that's where at this period of time all of these people moved, or like over here there's a large Polish speaking population, and so you're just kind of like, this is the same, like the we all have a shared story when it comes to we all ended up here some way or another, and we're trying to like just we're trying to blend for everyone. We're trying to welcome everyone into our space. Like that is the magic of reading. You can be anyone, you can learn any.
Yeah, I don't think it's canceling out our differences. I think it's welcoming our differences,
Embracing them,
celebrating
yeah.
and embracing them for sure. We did a story time at a Coma bookstore in Atlanta, so that was like
Mhm.
our expanding, out of New York City, and it was such
Yeah.
a different culture. Like packing in the minivan, driving to the mall on a Sunday. I'm like, where's everybody? Everyone's in church. It's the South. I'm like, oh my god, and in Brooklyn, I would never we wouldn't even have to think twice about that. So seeing the different cultures of story times, but still, the way it can bring people together anywhere. And the plan really is to expand nationally, internationally. I've been talking, with a friend in the Dominican Republic, talking with another friend in Atlanta. Like we need to have this program not only in New York City, and one thing that I've noticed since we started Brown Babies and Books is how uncomfortable the word brown makes people. And
Mm.
saying it in New York in an urban, space is one
Right.
thing, but when you email somebody in upstate New York, say, mention the word brown, they're like, oh, oh, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like we exist and it's okay.
Right. Like it, I'm sorry, it's not that hard. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
let's reply and say, I'd love to hear more. Let's
Yeah.
make this happen. I love that. So the goal from here is just it's spread the word, and then be able to say like, look for your Brown Babies and Books group in a bookstore, in a library, in a city near you. That's the dream now.
Yes. So as I mentioned, we are going to be continuing our story times. We do two children's story times a month.
Mhm.
Often partner right here at Lofty Pigeon, other local bookstores, small businesses, but we will have our maternal wellness events. We have an event coming up the end of April called The Longest Table, and that will be the emphasis on Black maternal health. And then we have another Mother's Day Eve gathering. I won't call it a gala,
Mhm.
but that's gonna be with a Black-owned wine store, Happy Cork, Black-owned oyster company, The Real Mother Shuckers, and we'll continue, our story time programming as well as our maternal wellness and community programming, into the spring and the summer.
Oh, that is incredible. Dessa, thank you so much for taking the time to share with me today. Listeners, as always, links are in the show notes, but make sure you check all of this out. You can find more information about brown babies in books in the episode description. You can find contact info, whatever you need. It will be there. And of course, if you are in New York or more specifically Brooklyn, make sure you're checking out these events and joining for the incredibleness to come. Dessa, again, this has been such a beautiful conversation. Thank you for sharing and thank you for the work you're doing.
Yes, thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate you receiving my email, believing in the work that we're doing. I encourage everybody get on the Libby app and the books that we mentioned. If you're not seeing them in your local libraries or they're not accessible to you, please go to your local bookstores and libraries
Yes.
and say we need these books. And if there's a book that you'd love to see us share in our community and get these authors in, please reach out to me. Thank you so much, Book Lounge and Joe. I really appreciated our time.
Thank you. And listeners, happy reading.
Yes, happy reading.
You can sample and borrow the books from today's episode in the Libby app, or if you're a librarian, find them for purchase in Overdrive Marketplace. Book Lounge by Libby is a proud Evergreen Podcast signature program. Explore more amazing shows at evergreenpodcasts.com. This podcast is produced and recorded by me, Joe Skelly, with editing by Andrew Alonso. Our theme music is High Five by Rex Banner, used with permission. Book Lounge by Libby is presented by the Libby app. Learn more at libbylife.com/booklounge.